It's inspiring moments with Kaylin. It's inspiring moments with Kaylin. Come on in. Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the Inspiring Moments with Kaylin live podcast. I am your host, Kaylin John Louis, and I hope everyone has had such an amazing Sunday. I know I have, because today is my grandma's birthday. A lot of you know her because we talk about her a lot. Her name is Miss Vera. So go ahead, if you're in the chat, please say happy birthday to Miss Vera. I'm sure several of you have, but it is her birthday today, and so we just enjoyed celebrating her, and it was a great day. I am super duper excited to be here. Like I said, I want to remind you to please keep washing your hands, wearing your mask, practicing social distancing, and if you're eligible to get vaccinated and feel comfortable with it, go ahead and get your vaccination for you and for everyone else around you. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin YouTube channel and turn on your post notifications. On that YouTube channel, you can see all the videos from the different podcasts. And if you ever feel like you need some extra encouragement, click on the topic that you need and be inspired. Next, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Kaylin Cares 15. Then I ask that you follow me on Facebook and LinkedIn. And on Facebook, you can like me at Kaylin's Caring Connection. And on LinkedIn, you can link up with me on Kaylin's Caring Connection. But on all those platforms, you'll be able to see upcoming events, different things that we share from other businesses, and just all things Kaylin's Caring Connection. And last but certainly not least, please go check out the Kaylin's Caring Connection website. Again, on that website, you'll be able to see all things, the reason why I started KCK, the reason why I decided to do Inspiring Moments with Kaylin, upcoming events, past events. If you want to shop and get a t-shirt like the amazing t-shirt I'm wearing now, it says Caring Where My Heart Resides. It is a part of the KCK t-shirt line. You can go ahead and purchase it on that website. But if you want to just see all things Kaylin's Caring Connection, go ahead and share that website. And I ask that if you're watching the podcast right now, please share it. If you are on Facebook, share it with your friends, whether you share the link, whether you share it on your actual page. Please get this out, because I believe this will be a great podcast, and I believe this is going to be a great topic. If you have any questions or just want to comment, feel free to put it in the chat and let us know that you are watching. Before I get into the topic, I do again want to say, please share this video. And I want to thank everybody who's consistently been watching, consistently been following Kaylin's Caring Connection and Inspiring Moments with Kaylin. You all don't know how much you put such a great smile on my face. And I just thank you for tuning in tonight. You're taking time out of your Sunday when you could be doing other things. So thank you so much. Now it's showtime. Nationwide, there are millions of youth caregivers between the ages of 8 to 18. As one of the millions, I made it my business to advocate and bring awareness to the growing number of youth who are caring for sick or disabled loved ones. A few months ago, back in March, I started the KCK Youth Care 2 movement, a movement that was birthed out of the vision and my own experience being a secondary caregiver for my grandmother and great-grandmother. My goal is to raise awareness for caregiving youth everywhere. We want them to know that we see them. And while they care for others, we care for them. We are important and our care matters. There is so much going on with youth caregivers that not a lot of people know about. So I thought I would take another night to have another episode to really dedicate it to youth caregivers. So I thought it would be nice to have a guest and introduce you to a youth caregiver and advocate. He is an 18-year-old high school senior. He participates in multiple sports, including football, wrestling, basketball, boxing, and jiu-jitsu. In his school, he also is a member of the National Art Honor Society, and he was a former caregiver for 3 years for his grandmother, who also was diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia disease. With all that he learned from his caregiving experience, he desired to find a way to advocate for other caregiving youth. Now he works with the American Association of Caregiving Youth to help other youth caregivers and spread the word on how to advocate for him. His name is Charlie Poole, and I would love to welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Kaylin. It's so nice to be here.
Of course. So glad that you were on. To everyone, y'all, this is an amazing caregiver. I actually was able to meet him at an event we connected with the American Association of Caregiving Youth, and we were able to just hear each other's stories. And from his story, I thought it was so awesome to bring him on my show, because at the end of the day, we all have to stick together. We're all youth caregivers, and our care matters. So let's begin. Charlie, do you want to explain to the audience who you helped care for and at what age?
So I began caring for my grandma when I was around 12 years old. And she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, right? And she lived up in Illinois. So my mom had to make the road trip to go up and get her and then bring her back, over 24 hours of total driving. And we designed our basement, like our entire area, right, to make it exactly like her old house, her old living room, and that she used to live in. Brought in as many things as we could. And we had her living with us for the 3 years that we spent caring for her.
Wow. Wow, that's really, really amazing just to know that y'all brought her up here. Because like you said, she was in Illinois. That's quite a distance, especially from where I am. That's quite a distance to bring her up. And I know that we both share when it comes to caregiving, we share that both of our grandparents had Alzheimer's dementia disease. And that disease can be very taxing. So I know that having to bring her up, I would assume it was a decision that was easily made because you wanted to make sure she was okay, right?
Yes, actually, but there was a little more complexity, unfortunately. What happened initially was, because of our situation, right, we had to wait, right, in order, we couldn't immediately run up and get her, unfortunately. But we tried hiring. First, we tried putting her in a temporary nursing home, right? Times so that she could have 24/7 care, and then we could come and get her and bring her back to our house. Unfortunately, the nursing homes had a 4-year wait list, all of them in the area, and that ended up being longer than she ended up living, actually, so we couldn't have waited. And then we hired care for her, full-time care, right? Somebody to come over and give her medicine and food and feed her dog and take real care of her, right?
Right.
We are very lucky. We are very lucky to have had our friend, Jim, who came to walk the dog, and found her passed out on the floor. It turns out that the care we hired did not do a great job, did not come over, and did not actually fulfill the duties that they were supposed to be doing. So that was when we immediately dropped everything and got our grandma and got her back to a place that we know is safe, right? And this is one of the big first experiences, right? Because even though we have the funds, right, I consider myself very lucky. We have resources, we have funds, right? But even that, sometimes you don't know the kind of care that your grandma did. You don't know the kind of care that your family members did. And that really shook, because she was found dehydrated. She hadn't taken any of her medicine. And so we had to bring her. We had to make sure that we could care for her and that we could give her the best experience possible, you know?
Exactly. I mean, there's different things now where a lot of people, I think, having to be home with COVID and just they've seen how much keeping your family members around you and caring for them in person really is, because there are some of those people who don't take as good and as much care as they could for those people. And so when they're your loved ones, you're like, hey, if I can find a way to make sure they're okay, to make sure they're home with us, then I'm going to find a way. I know that was the same situation for my mom, because like you mentioned, your grandmother was living by herself. So was my grandmother. She was living by herself, doing her normal day to day, because she used to actually be a seamstress. And so she would be making clothes for people, but then they started to see that she would mix up people's clothes or not fix them correctly. And then we started seeing signs. And so for us, my mom was like, hey, that's my mom. I got to find a way to help her. And it was immediate. We were able to go She started coming over more, spending the night with us. And then as the disease progressed more, she actually ended up living with us. And actually, we had to be with her for 24 hours for hand-on care. So I definitely understand where you're coming from when it comes to having to drop everything and having to immediately have her. And I know you saying that you said you were 12, correct?
Yes.
So as a 12-year-old, that has to be a lot. I mean, having to see your grandmother go through so much, and you go from, seeing her normal, her day to day, to just seeing her completely in a state that you never expected would happen. Was that, I was wondering, was that one of the most challenging times you had, or what's been the most challenging time you had when it came to caregiving for your grandmother?
So for sure, seeing, my grandma, who I've known all these years, right, start to, degrade in terms of her mental state and in terms of what she what she knew and what she was doing, and especially how she would act. But in general, I would say the toughest thing for, a 12-year-old growing up, I would say, was as it started to get much worse, she was a night owl, a bit of a night owl. She liked staying up late
Right.
before she even got Alzheimer's or anything. She always stayed up till like 4 a.m. and then slept during the day, whether it was working or playing solitaire. But that kind of carried over, and she would wake up in the middle of the night and come, out of her room and just start calling for us. And she would be, it could be about anything or about nothing. She just wanted to see us, right? And it could take anywhere from 10 minutes, for her to go back to bed and go back to sleep, to we would be up until morning. And this was pretty much a nightly occurrence for the rest for about half of the time she was actually living with us. And of course, again, the degree of seriousness of what she needed varies, right? But it could be very scary at times, especially, being a 12-year-old and waking up in the middle of the night to screaming, right? And you're thinking it's an emergency, right? And that's a lot. So I would say that was definitely one of the biggest, one of the hardest, stressors, I would say, of taking care of her,
Yeah, I can't imagine that, because I know everybody's situation is different. I know there's been times with my grandmother as well where there are some nights where she's just up. My grandma's not a night owl though. She's ready. She's probably in the bed around like 5 or 6. Well, not 5. When the time was different, it was around that time. But now that it gets darker later, she goes to bed probably around like 6 or 7. And so sometimes she gets up a couple, maybe every other couple hours, and you never know what she's getting up for. Sometimes she's up because she just walks out the room, doesn't know where she is, and she goes right back to bed. There's been times where she actually does get up and she's very disoriented, doesn't know where she is, and so she's trying to find a way to get out because she doesn't know where she is. And so that it was challenging having to see. I mean, it is a lot. When you're younger, you're growing up, you're trying to take care of yourself, you're trying to learn more about yourself, and to have to see your grandparent or your loved one go through something has to be very, very challenging. And with Alzheimer's, we both know that it's just a disease where every day is a new challenge. Something new can happen. You never know if one day they're going to be up this way. They have those irrational behaviors where sometimes they're happy, sometimes they don't recognize who you are, sometimes they don't even want to be nice to you. Those are those moments. But I mean, it takes a lot of strength. I can say that you're very strong to have to see all of that and go through that and grow up to be the person that you are, because you're 18 now. You just said you were 12. I'm pretty sure mine started around 11. I'm 15. So we've gone through those years. And
you're remaining strong. So good job on that. Thank you. So on your journey,
Thank you. And I know I'm a female and I care for my grandmother, who's a woman, but you're a male and you're caring for a woman. Were there any times where you felt uncomfortable helping your grandmother?
So the way I always looked at it, even, back then, and of course, as I started to get older, she's family. That's just really the way you got to look at it, right? Even if you're male, if you have to help, with showering or help putting clothes on or things like that, right? That's just the way you got to look at it, right? It's family. I never had any sort of uncomfortability, though, to be fair, I did not have to, since I was younger and we had assistants, right? My mom would take care of some of the more, private things that I couldn't do, right? But in general, it's family, right? That's the thing I gotta say. I feel no uncomfortability with whatever she needed help with. That's honestly the thing. That's honestly all.
It's understandable. Very,
Yeah,
very understandable. I mean, when they're family, when there's somebody you care about, it doesn't go to say whether or not you have to decide. It's like, hey,
exactly.
they're my family. I would want somebody to do this for me if I was ever in that situation. So
Exactly.
it's a stop, drop, and roll, honestly, to
Yeah.
be able to get them going. I know that it is challenging, especially when you have those moments like my grandmother. She has those times where she may put her clothes on a different way, or she may have something mixed max, and it's kind of like, how does the brain even get them to do something like that? Because us normally we know how to do certain things, but just having to see them progress can be hard, especially for those who don't know how to handle it. And I mean, sadly, I know that you mentioned to me, and I'll let you explain to the audience, with a lot of people with Alzheimer's, there hasn't been a cure. And so a lot of people end up passing because of disease. I actually had an aunt who had dementia because a lot of my grandmother's siblings have dementia as well. It's very, it's in their genetics. And so she actually passed from Alzheimer's, but I know you mentioned your grandma did. And so what was that experience for you? How did everything go down?
So essentially, what happened in her last few months here, we could see her state, getting much worse. Right, she was not at all. Even for how she acted with Alzheimer's, she was not acting the same, not acting how she normally does, not eating enough. And we would have hospital care coming over to our house to check on her, do blood work and such. And eventually, after some trips to the hospital, they said we have to put her in hospice care, right? And for those 2 weeks, unfortunately, I wasn't able to see her when she was in hospice, but my mom and dad visited her. She had her dog with her. She always, we always gave her favorite drink was, diet. She loved Diet Coke Zero, which is very hard to find. She
Right.
loved that. And she passed away in the hospice center. And in the, your life just completely changes at that point, right? For 3 years, you've had the routine of, your grandma being there, whether or not she was all the way there herself, right? She's somebody who's there, she's a family member. You love her, and her being gone, especially, I couldn't say bye to her, it was very sudden when she was taken out of to the hospice care, it's hard to explain, it's a difficult time. And we eventually held her funeral back in her hometown, Champaign, Illinois, with all of her family around her. And, it was a beautiful, beautiful service, small service, buried next to my grandfather, who passed away, a few years earlier. So just at the time, I would have been around 15 years old. And I just starting off high school, and just there were a lot of emotions, going on. Their passing, starting up high school, having, to go through everything, that she had, and going through all the old memories, of what, and just seeing how it all got to this point.
Right.
There's always this feeling of sadness that you're going to have after that, but also the feeling that, she's no longer suffering anymore. She's, wherever you believe in afterlife, and is happy, hopefully. That's all you can really say after it's done.
Right. And I know I pray every day that I don't ever have to experience that, but I know that there are those moments you have several people and they're still trying to come up with a cure, and that can be hard. I mean, I actually, if I can recall, because I know a lot of people, nobody likes funerals, but when it comes to emotions and certain things, when I see other people cry, it makes me just want to cry. And so I can definitely not imagine, but I do want to commend you because that had to be a lot. You had to go through high school, and I mean, starting high school within itself, just that's a lot. Having to see new classes, new people. It's a new experience. And so you're going in with a mindset of different things. And you're very strong. You are a very, very determined person. And I'm glad that you took a negative situation. You could have seen it as something negative. You turned it into something positive. And with your journey, you've been able to advocate for other youth caregivers. And I want you to get more into that because there's a lot of different youth who probably have the same stories you saying that they've lost the parent or the loved one they were caring for and they don't know where to go from there. So how did you get the courage or get the umph to really say, hey, I can't stay in this moment of sadness and grieving. I'm going to decide to turn it into something positive and help other people?
So actually, what was interesting was afterwards, it was research, right, on others of our situation, right. It was also during, when we were caring for our grandma, right. We were always looking up things, like you said, trying to see if people were finding cures, trying to see if there were any breakthroughs made, but also trying to see if there were resources, right, to help those in our situation, right, specifically for, youth, right. And we found many articles, right, talking about the millions of caregivers out there, right, in similar situations to, you and I, right. And I eventually stumbled upon the American Association of Caregiving Youth and found their website. And we got into contact with Connie Siskowski. And that was a very, I think, big turning point because she's such a nice girl, such a nice woman, and what she's doing, especially in Florida, who has a much higher elderly population, right, is something we thought was amazing, right? It's something that we thought was awesome. And we wanted to help out in any way that we could. And the biggest way, right, somebody who was, at the time, younger, the biggest way you could help is spreading awareness. And the first thing we did, the first major thing we did for the association was give a talk. Me and my brother gave a speech during a convention that the American Association of Caregiving Youth was holding down in Boca Raton, Florida. And we were the keynote speakers, and we were both, still pretty young at this time. And giving this talk was pretty nerve-wracking, but we had a lot of help. We had a great coach, Peter Botting. He's a great guy, and the support of our parents, right? And everybody there, wants you to succeed. Everybody there is for the same goal as you, to help caregiving youth. So the presentation was great. And then, as I got into high school, we were thinking of ways that we could help here at our school. So I've heard about the service hour requirement for National Honor Society and specific types of graduation requirements. And it's 40 hours of community service required, which somebody who is caring for somebody, right, intense care, that is something that is almost, impossible for them to achieve, right? Especially if they're already working hard enough to maintain good grades. That is something that is very, hard to ask of them, right? So what I started thinking, was that we could make this into we can make it so that the youth who are caregiving don't have to, or have this requirement fulfilled for them already. They are already offering a service, right? They are helping somebody who's a part of the community, right? Even if they are family, right? With their services, with what they are doing, right? And they're putting in way more work than 40 hours, in 4 years, right? To help their family. So that's something that we were really pushing for, especially before COVID hit. COVID kind of put a bit of a strain on some things, but then after pushing for this, we then made another speech. My brother and I did another speech at Brain Bowl in Florida as well, representing the American Association of Caregiving Youth.
Wow.
And so, yeah, those are the major things we've been trying to work on for advocating for caregiving youth, and I'll be going off to college soon, and I'll be trying to help people in those areas, bring the association services there or helping out however I can. We already had 2 students reach out to us from that conference, and are asking for the help in the service hours, and I'm working with the association to help them. So we'll, see what the future holds. But as of right now, that's what we've been doing to help caregivers.
I can tell you the future is bright for you and for what you all are doing, because
Thank you.
that is amazing. I mean, there's not a lot of people who think like there's children in school who don't, because a lot of kids our age, of course, they don't share their stories
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're going through caregiving. It's like, I'm going to tend to myself. I'm trying to stay focused on my grades. I'm trying to stay focused on certain things. And luckily, my mom is primary caregiver. I'm the secondary caregiver. I don't know what I would do if she was not here, because I already know there's so much that you have to do. And so those people who are being primary caregivers, you're having to go to school, you're having to go straight home, care for somebody else, and then you have to worry about yourself. You're growing, you're trying to mature. There's so many things that you go through. And so you're right, trying to get service hours just in general can be hard, especially if you're not a social person, if you aren't trying to really get out there and help with people. It can be difficult for anybody. But when you're a caregiver and you're always caring for somebody else, I think it's definitely cool that y'all have found a way in your school to be able to allow them to get service hours. I'm looking forward to trying to partner with you all as well and find ways I can do it here, because there are so many youth. There are so many youth who don't know the good opportunity, good ways they can maximize that right. They have a right. Their care matters, and it shouldn't be seen like it should be on the back burner just because they don't have somebody who will talk about it. That's why we're here. That's why we're here, to be their voice and be able to keep them. So I think you're doing amazing things. And I think that you working with AACY and being able to help those people is your purpose. You're doing what you're going to do, and you have created a legacy for yourself. So great job.
Thank you
Great
so much, Darren. That means the world to me. Thank you. And what you're doing here with this podcast is something great. You're really brave to get up here and speak about this issue and important issues through your platform. And this is such a great thing to do.
Thank you so much. Everybody, if you, just those listening, you don't know how much watching, listening to people's stories impacts so many people. When it comes to advocacy for anything, the way to spread the word is simply by telling your experiences and telling how things are happening. If you want people to help, if you want people to get involved in what you're doing, you need to just be able to have those people to speak on the subject and be able to really get it out there. Youth caregivers are important. There are so many, and if you may not know somebody, especially this goes out to my students, my teachers. If you're a youth caregiver and you're watching and you don't know who to reach out to, you have two people right here. You have two people. My contact, if you ever need to get, you can always go to Kalen's Caring Connection and find out a way to message. If you need to talk to somebody, if you need help, contact the American Association of Caregiving with Charlie. If you need resources, you have to find those people, because a lot of teachers and a lot of different people may not ask you what's going on. I mean, there's those people who act irrationally. They don't know how to deal with it because they're caregiving. And so they just need those people to tell them what's going on and to help them. Reach out to somebody. Now, Charlie, do you have any advice to other youth caregivers around just on how to deal with caregiving and how to push through?
So dealing with caregiving, you still have to make time for you sometimes. Like I would draw when I was at my house, right? And when I was dealing with my grandma. And I would do that even, with my grandma around, right? She would like to watch me draw, right? Find some common ground, even if she seems completely, out of it one day, or, you're really feeling down, find something you can do with them, just that's fun for both of you, right? Whether it's drawing, whether it's watching a show, whether it's doing something that both of you enjoy. And also, if you need assistance in school or assistance in anything you're doing, just like you said, advocating for yourself is incredibly important. And it's something that takes a lot of bravery. It's something that takes a lot of, courage to do, because a lot of people don't think that they're in a situation. They think that this is just something people do, right? And they got to tough it out, right? But you deserve help. You deserve help, you deserve assistance, and you deserve, attention from your teachers and anything you can get, right? And of course, if you need any help with that, as Kaylin said, we'll be there for you.
Yes, yes, yes. And I mean, yes, ask for help. Don't be afraid. I mean, yes, it's hard, especially if you don't know who to talk to. You may be afraid of your teacher. Like, how will they react if I tell them? Because some people are like, hey, that's what you're doing. Tough it out. You got to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own struggle. But they don't realize how much of a toll it can be to have to deal with somebody else while you're trying to grow up and live. You have to be able to find that contrast. So talk to somebody. And teachers, if you're listening, encourage other teachers. If you feel somebody or you feel a child is acting towards a certain way, I mean, not everybody's going to be a caregiver, but talk to the children. Don't just enforce them and try to get them in trouble or write them up. Find out what's going on with them, because a lot of times they act irrationally just because they feel like they don't have anybody to talk to. You have to be able to get that courage, like Charlie said, get that bravery, and just advocate for you and for other people. You, by sharing your story and by using your voice, you're helping somebody else who's afraid to open their mouth and be able to tell their story. Charlie, I thank you so much for just being a part. I'm so, so glad that you were able to come on and be brave and share your story, as you probably have many times. Now that you're a senior, you're probably going to be doing it a lot more going off to college. I hope everything with college works out good for you. All your scholarships are everywhere you're trying to go. I hope everything goes well. And I hope that you and your kids are caregiver too movement. I just hope everything goes well for you. I'm very, very happy that you are on tonight.
Thank you so much, Kaylin. This is such an amazing opportunity, and thank you for everything you're doing, for our high school and helping out. And I can't wait to see, everything that you're going to do and everything that this is going to turn into, because I know it's going to be something big. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yes, everybody, just give a round of applause in the chat, everybody. This was an amazing show. I definitely look forward to connecting with Charlie, and we're going to be connecting in the future because we really want to see change. This show was awesome. Not only did you meet another youth caregiver, we also met another advocate that decided to use their own experiences to create change. We are examples of change makers, and we want to see great things happen for youth caregivers. Thank you, everyone, just for tuning in. Thank you for being on. Thank you for actually being a part and just taking the time to listen to what we have to say, to listen to our advocacy, because our care matters. We see caregivers, we see each other, and we must stick together. If we don't stick together and help each other, then how can we ask anybody else to? Find your courage, find your bravery, and stand up and use your voice to help other people. Don't forget that we released the new KCK Caring t-shirts, where our heart resides. You see it right now. I have on the Caring. It's kind of hard to see, but I have on the Caring, where my heart resides shirt. Please go ahead and purchase those, because these shirts are a part of our movement. These shirts are showing what great things we're doing just to help other youth caregivers. I am super, super duper glad that you all joined me tonight. You can also find any other shirts, any other KCK Youth Care 2 shirts at www.kaylenscaringconnection.com/shop. All those proceeds will be going to helping caregivers and helping our future initiatives with Kaylin's Caring Connection. If you would like to purchase shirts, the prices are on the website, but if you want to get the shirt I'm wearing right now, they are $20 for youth and adult sizes small to large. If you go past large, it will be $23. And again, by donating, by purchasing a shirt, you are connecting with us. Thank you all for tuning into the show. I hope you learned something new. For all of my youth that are testing, that are going into doing final exams, or whether you have FSA testing, you got this. Don't be nervous. Keep going. You're going to do great things and finish this school year strong. Have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday for another episode of KCK Inspiring Moments with Kaylin. Good night.